Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so very much for your patience. And welcome to Ellie Robinson. My name is John Taves, and I'm the event coordinator here at the store. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we are, of course, gathered here in Treaty 1 territory. The land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Niniwak, Anishinaabe, Dakota, and Bene peoples, so the homeland of the Métis Nation. In addition, of course, McNally Robinson Booksellers itself rests on the land once occupied by the Métis community of Roostertown. We host a lot of events here during the year, and it's always an exciting time to gather people to get together in celebration of a new book. It's particularly exciting when it's the first book by an author. So we're so pleased that you could all be here this afternoon to celebrate the debut book from Della Steinke. That is, of course, Mothering to Mother Inc., a raw memoir of hard truths and second chances. I'm also keenly aware no one here is here to listen to me, so I will be very brief. But just to give you an idea of how the afternoon will go, there'll be a reading and presentation up here from the podium. And following that, there'll be an opportunity for you folks to ask questions. So do allow those to kind of percolate in your brain over the afternoon. When it comes time for the Q&A, I'll approach you with this handheld microphone in a non-threatening way. That just ensures that everybody watching live at home can hear the questions as well. So thank you for that indulgence. And I'll be back at the end to let you know how you can get a copy of Mothering to Mother Inc. signed. So stand by for that exciting announcement. But for now, it's a huge pleasure to welcome somebody who is, of course, an expert in all things Della Steinke. Please join me in welcoming her son, Cody Vernon.
An expert in all things Della Steinke. Well, just like to thank that introduction because, of course, I also have an acknowledgement, and now I don't have to worry about it, so we can just get to the good stuff. Alongside, of course, the acknowledgement, I would also just like to thank the Spence Neighborhood Association, who I based my acknowledgement off of for the good work they do and the support they've given Mom Della Steinke in her ongoing work. My name again is Cody Verney. I have the distinct honor and privilege to say a few words before we bring Mom up to speak. When Mom asked me to read a few excerpts from the book and introduce her, very quickly I said yes, but then realized after we spoke that it meant I actually had to read the book, which I had been hesitant on. A book about Mom's first memories growing up in abusive situations or struggles to find some sense of self and safety, the pain and anguish at so many of the turns in a road, all to result in a life she would never even consider trading. Or changing in any way. I remember my wife looked at me and said, well, I think you should power through the book this weekend before next week. I asked her why, and she said, well, you have counseling on Tuesday, and you can bring the list and really get your hours. Of course, it was joking. Didn't know how that joke was going to land, to be honest, but we both had a good laugh, even if it was a serious point that some may not find as funny as we did. I do really believe that laughing and finding humor in tough situations is one of those life lessons that I really believe I learned from Mom. Mom, our relationship has not always been the best. We've had our ups and downs as mother and child, both done things I know we regret, but at the same time, would never change, as it would change our stories. And it's our stories, our journeys of growing and learning as people. Reading this book not only meant that I would learn things about my family that I may not have known in extreme detail, but for the first time I'd be reading these stories about events that happened in my life from Mom's perspective. Not filtered for her child, but as a person telling her story unfiltered for anyone to read and hopefully find some gems of truth and wisdom in. A few of these stuck out to me. I'd just like to share two before we bring Mom up. The wedding ceremony took place outside. Horses lined the corral fences I would be walking past shortly. Everyone sat in a half moon of lawn chairs. As my father was just about to walk me down the aisle of the yard, seated with guests looking our way, he grabbed my hand and looked me in the eyes. I bet you wish you'd had that shot now, don't you? He winked. I laughed. Hell yeah, I replied. He just looked at me. His eyes screamed out, why are you doing this? Despite my strong doubts about getting married, my need to please my parents and get back in their good graces overrode my own feelings. The music started and we began to walk. My favorite moment was seeing my young son Cody as my ring bearer, wearing his little cowboy boots. That image gave me an authentic smile. As I walked closer to the wedding party of the guys, my brother made funny faces at me, trying to make me laugh. It was the lightest moment I had felt in a very long time. There are moments in this book that are a struggle to comprehend and are going to test. They're going to test you, your outlook on life. Some can read this paragraph and see nothing but sadness and regret, others nothing but happiness and joy. I find that I see both, the beautiful juxtaposition of the happiness and the sadness existing hand in hand in the same place at the same moment. It represents one of the central themes in this book, that there really is a silver lining in any situation. You just have to look for it, no matter how small, and no matter how hard it is to find it. Before I close, I'd like to read one more excerpt from the book that I believe also speaks to one of the other central themes in this book about inner strength. It was April, and my mother had already been drinking since early morning. I was in my room putting away my clothes when she stood in the doorway. "Look at you," she said, shaking her head. "You think you're something, but you're nothing, all full of fake dreams." "Leave me alone," I said, not looking at her. "Leave you alone? This is my house. I'll talk when I want to talk." "Well, I don't want to talk to you. Go talk to someone else." "Oh, really?" she said, raising her voice. "Do you want to get smart-mouthed with me? My house, my rules." "Listen, I don't really care, all right? Just leave me alone." She scoffed. "Leave you alone? It's easy for you. Don't pay any bills, live here rent-free, talk to me with a smart mouth." "You're the one looking for a fight," I said, tossing her a glare. "I've been in my room quietly doing my own stuff. I should teach you a lesson. You don't talk to me like this. If you don't like it, leave my room. Go bother someone else." "You don't tell me what to do," she yelled. "I'll do what I damn well want to. You understand?" She took a step inside my room. "Don't come in here," I said. I took a step back. "This is my space." "Your space? I don't think so. You own no space. You have no idea how mad you make me." I heard her footsteps and turned toward her as she raised her fist to hit me. I moved quickly and grabbed her neck with my hands, squeezing, looming over her as I pushed her up against the wall. Her eyes opened wide as I moved to hit her, cocking one arm behind my head. I stopped. Dropped my clenched fist. "Get out of here," I said, grinding my teeth, shoving her towards the door and out into the hallway. I could hear her mumbling something as she went staggering down the hallway. I slammed the door, breathing heavily. My hands trembled from the encounter. I was exhausted by her outbursts. I was tired of the name-calling, the threats. I was done with her. My decision was made. It was the closest I had come to hitting my mother. I was larger than her, stronger. I easily could have hurt her, but it wasn't in me to do that. Even with her abusive attitude towards me, I had to leave permanently. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to the author of Mothering to Mother, Inc., my mother, and one of my greatest friends, Della Steinke.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Della Steinke, and I'm an alcoholic. Oh, wait, wrong meeting. But seriously, my alcoholism is a great place to start. If I didn't get sober 2 years ago, I don't think I'd be here right now for more than one reason. First off, if I didn't get sober, I don't think I'd be alive today with how bad that I was getting, or also because I had talked a good game for 10 years about filming and about getting into the prison system, writing a book, but I didn't start making my dreams come true until 2 years ago when I finally got sober. I'm the mom of 3 amazing boys, 34, 32, and 24. It took me everything in my being to get them to come here today. You know, what kid in their 20s or 30s wants to come and talk about a book where their mom admits she did porn? You know what I'm saying? I mean, even this one, I know for a fact was like, okay, so there were things you didn't tell me about. But yes, this crazy book of mine, it's been in my brain for a very long time to write. It's part of my healing journey with not only getting sober, but just everything. I have dreamt about all of this, doing all of this, and I wasn't even sure that anybody would ever want to read something about me. I did it more so for myself than for everybody else to read, but apparently I have some people behind me who support me. I'm very thankful for all of you that have shown up for me today. It's pretty shocking. But I'm glad that you're all here, and I guess we're here to talk about this crazy book. I'm going to read a few excerpts from the book right now. None too shocking, because I know this one doesn't want me to talk about the porn. But excerpt 1, The Promise. I'll spend the rest of my life paying it forward. Walking aimlessly, I came across the hospital chapel and went in. I sat in a pew at the back. Just to give you all a little bit of background, this was the night of my son Dustin's accident. Walking aimlessly, I came across the hospital chapel. I went in, I sat in a pew at the back, the silence deafening but somehow comforting. The rain hitting the stained glass felt like it was washing away something inside of me. I raised my head, stared toward the ceiling, and made this promise. God, if my son survives, I'll spend the rest of my life paying it forward, which is what I'm still doing. Childhood insecurity. To this day, I still feel like that 13-year-old girl. To this day, I still feel like that 13-year-old girl who was not as good as everybody else.
Love you, Della.
To this day, I still feel like that 13-year-old girl who was not as good as everyone else. Growing up, I always felt judged and afraid to open up. I watched the other kids get tucked in, kissed goodnight, and celebrated for the smallest of things. I sat with my back to the wall, wishing someone would notice I was there, but also terrified that they would. The next one? Yeah. Excerpt 3, Client Connections. When I get to know my clients, I want to know why they got that tattoo in the first place. I want to know what led up to that tattoo, the life they were living, the pain they were burying, or the pride they were claiming. We all had crappy upbringings, and we all wanted a sense of family. The ink tells the story before they even say a word. Want to say anything? Okay.
You're better at it than I am.
Motherhood and sisterhood. My biggest fear in life was becoming a mother because I never really had a mother. I didn't know what it was supposed to look like. I had to build that blueprint from scratch. And now I have others affectionately referring to me as a mother figure, some of them even older than me. I never expected to earn that title, but now I carry it with pride and purpose. So I actually will say something to this one. 2 years ago, very happily, the birth of my son and I had a very similar thought about this, but not really knowing how to be a dad with our own story. And this one spoke to me, having to build that and trying to be something that you wanted to avoid and to be what you didn't have. So I think that was a very powerful excerpt from the book. Self-worth and acceptance. I like who I am. I like what my upbringing molded me into as a human being. I can sit in my skin now and not feel like I have to crawl out of it. I didn't end up on drugs, shooting up 10 times a day. I didn't end up in prison. I made it through, and that means something. It means everything. Yeah. Adoption and belonging. I didn't come from a place of being claimed. I came from a place of being chosen. When I think back to being 17 years old, I had a decision to make when I was pregnant. I never spent a day being angry at my life. Family is what you make it, and between my kids, other family, clients, and Andrea, my missing piece, I'm really finally okay. The silent legacy of trauma. We never talked about what happened, but it lived in how we moved, how we flinched, how we kept secrets. That silence didn't protect us, it built walls. Do you want to speak a little to that one? Do you want to speak a little to that one? Some context?
No.
Okay. Becoming the woman she needed. I'm not trying to be anyone's savior. That's not what this is. I'm just trying to be the woman I needed when I was younger. The kind of person I didn't have. That's what this work is to me. Every laser zap is like healing a version of myself. Sisterhood reclaimed. The development of our relationship took me time. As much as I longed for it, my guard was up. Yet as I got to know her more, I began to see that maybe she needed me as much as I needed her, in reference, of course, to her sister Anne.
So just to give a little background on myself and Andrea, my son got me my DNA 8 years ago, and for a Christmas present, he got me my DNA.
It was only 7, I know it feels longer.
But it was the 8th Christmas ago. And Andrea actually went and bought herself a DNA test as well. I knew that I had a sister out there somewhere, but she knew nothing about me. And it was quite the shock for her to find out that she had an older sister. I was actually put into foster care. Andrea was actually raised by our mother. And it took me probably 2 years to break down those walls, because for me, everybody in my life besides my children had left me. You have a huge fear of abandonment when you're not only given up for adoption, but when you're told that, you know, you were never wanted, because the first memory that I have of my adopted mom was her always saying, I needed you like I needed a hole in my head. And so always having that fear that you're never good enough or anything. I always turned to bad relationships. I always turned to men, even though they were abusive or anything else, because, you know, bad attention is better than no attention at all. So I actually stayed in some really long-term bad relationships, and unfortunately, my first husband had tried to murder me, and I didn't learn from that one either. I kept getting into bad relationships, and right now I left my second husband 2 years ago, and I've been single for longer than I've ever been in my life. And I always thought that I needed a man to fulfill me, to be, you know, a regular person, to have that partner. But because of friends like Michelle and Andrea and Laura and Chris and my niece and everybody, I realized that I don't need that. These are the things that I need more than just being in a bad relationship. So yeah, so that's the story behind Andrea and myself. Should I read more? Where did we leave off? Okay. Naming the mission. My company is named Mother Inc. Andrea actually thought of that name. She looked at me and she said, you're like a mother to all these people. How about calling it Mother Inc.? And from that moment forward, Mother Inc. was born. We've joked around before that I used to have 3 children and now I have over 300. That number has grown tremendously, I think, to over 500 now. I went from 75 clients to well over 500 now, and it just keeps growing. The proceeds from these books actually go towards buying a travel van, so that unfortunately my sister has to come with me and travel for a week at a time, every 6 weeks, for a week stuck with me in a van, so that we can go actually up north to the reserves and actually do tattoo removal for people who need it up there as well. So that's what the book proceeds are going to. So the final closing quote is, if I can change the life of one person, I want my life written in this book with the hope that if I can change the life of even one person reading it, it's given meaning to my own life. The only thing I was ever proud of before was being a mother, and simply that's because I didn't exactly what we talked about. I didn't know what that was supposed to be. I didn't know how to be a mom. I was terrified when I was pregnant with this one, because all I'd ever seen was how not to be, not how to actually be. But I made mistakes. I I've done, after you read the book, I've done some things that were legal and illegal. You know, I definitely had to pay the bills, and I did some things that I'm not necessarily proud of, you know. I definitely was a stripper for a little bit. Yep, like I said before, I did porn. But I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change anything that I had ever, wow, when I say porn, you should see the look on all your faces. You guys are just like, oh, I never knew that one. I mean, you guys knew about that, not that. But yeah, to tell you the honest truth, everything that's in the book is pretty much everything written out, and I'm not sorry for anything that I've done or said or put out there. You know, it made me who I am, and it made me strong enough to actually raise my 3 boys and also to continue going, and now especially to try to help hopefully hundreds of people that I can continue helping along the way. Thank you. Questions and answers?
I think at this point, yeah, if you want to move into some question and answers, I believe our host is going to be coming along with microphone, so I'll let him take over from here.
Absolutely. So if you do have a question, please just put up your hand and I'll wander over to you.
Gardy, keep it clean.
I've often wondered, and I had the privilege of working with you numerous times, but at what point, as a human being, do you sort of go, yeah, I've had enough, I gotta tap out? Like some of the stories that you told, I know I would have thrown in the towel, and I just wonder what keeps you going.
Well, there was a time, well, there was 2 times actually where I thought about taking my life. The first one, I was actually living in my car under a bridge. After the day that I had raised my fist to my own mother, I realized that I could never ever go back, regardless of anything. And I was already working. I'm a grade 8 dropout. So just so you know, I have 0 education. I started working when I was 14, going on 15 years old. I was going to school till 3 o'clock at that point, and then working from 4 till midnight a lot of times. I never did homework, never did anything, didn't care about school. So I actually quit school, never finished grade 9. So yeah, but I was living in my car, still working 12-hour shifts, but sleeping under a bridge in my car. And at that point, I had almost given up. I just figured there was really nothing left for me. But I continued to keep going. And then very shortly after, I was pregnant with this one. And that changed my whole life. So yeah, the second I gave birth for the very first time, I knew that I was actually put on this earth to do something, even though I was told I would do nothing. So yeah.
If I may ask, so what keeps you going?
My grandson. By the way, I'm gonna be a Mima again because he's having another one. Honestly, now that the kids are all grown, of course they keep me going, but it's my clients that keep me going. You know, not last night, but the night before, I guess it was probably 10 o'clock at night, I was talking to one of my clients. She was ready to use, she wanted one last kick at the cat. And I begged her not to, just because the hardest part of my job, Linda can attest to this for sure, is we've had clients that we get really close to. I'll mention him by name, Charles, and another girl, Melinda. I get really close to all my clients. Some of them are here today with their kids, and I get really close to them. And twice in the last few months, they've gotten a hold of me and basically said they wanted one last kick at the cat, and then they were gonna go to detox, and I was gonna help them get into detox and everything. And that was the last I ever heard from them. But the hundreds that are still here keep me going.
Did you ever worry about being a good mother?
Every single day. Every single day, and I think I still do. Especially in those first couple years. I worried how I'd be. I worried how I'd be with anger. And, you know, when they're a baby, it's a little bit different. I mean, this one was so colicky for 18 months. It was unbelievable that I didn't throw him through the window. But yeah, Chris, you know. She had a baby 3 days before me, and oh, my nephew was just sleeping through the night at a couple of weeks old, everything else. And this one was colicky for 18 months. But I figured if I can get through that, I can get through anything. But yes, I did. I worried every single day that when they were 2, 3, 4, 5, even a teenager, because that one gave me a really hard time as a teenager, but we won't go into that. But yeah, I worried that I was in my anger. That was all I ever knew, was you get angry and you hit and you respond that way. But thankfully, I think I did okay.
Do you want to know why you worried about being a good mother?
Yeah.
Because you are a mother. Well, I just want to say this. I think you're pretty special. I've always known that. I just want to know if someday you would turn this into a documentary that other people can see, because there's not a lot of people at our level in the community that do this, Della. I don't want to see the porn parts though.
We'll talk about that. This is Linda, by the way. She is my mentor. She has believed in me for so many years. And she actually wrote the beginning of the book. And she's always been that person who supported me. And I love her to death like a mother.
Well, I won't like to be your mother, but anyways. I just want to tell you that I'm just so proud of you, Della, and that we never gave up, and that sometimes when we talk, we help each other and to listen and not to get with any bad guys again.
Yes.
Because you've done an amazing thing with your family. And Irvin, don't look at me, you make me cry. I just want to tell you that you've done a wonderful thing, and keep going, and don't give up to drugs or alcohol or anything, because nothing's worth than what you have sitting in front of you here.
That's
I
right.
love you to death, and
I love you too.
I'm very, very proud of you, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have the room for the hour, if anybody else has any questions.
Tell us more about your sister.
Well, she got the looks in the family. So
That's her way of saying I'm stupid. Your 2 peas in a pod is what you got.
Della, I know from the day I met you, I just thought you were such a beautiful, interesting, strong, fabulous person. And I would like to know if you could say something to little baby Della, who found herself in a very hard place. What would you say to her?
we went over this question yesterday. I would tell her that she's not going to be alone all the time. I made up these stories in my head when I was little, when I would be either hiding or the times when I ran away. I would always make up in my head that my birth family was going to come back and get me, and that one day someone was going to rescue me. And it took me until I was in my 40s to realize that I had to rescue myself. But I would tell her that it gets so much better. I mean, it takes, you know, I took the long road to get to sobriety and to be really happy and everything else, but honestly, I wouldn't trade anything.
Hey, Della. Do you have a relationship with your adoptive mother?
No, I do not.
When did you get your first tattoo and what is it?
Well,
No lying.
guess you have me in my wedding dress showing you that. My first tattoo, I was 19 years old. I got an eagle tattooed on my hip with this one sitting next to me in a car seat. He was only, I believe, 2 months old, and when he was only 16, I took him for his first tattoo by the same tattoo artist in the same shop. So yeah, that was my first tattoo, and up until the time of Dustin's accident, I actually kept most of my tattoos hidden, believe it or not. I actually had a professional job. But after Dustin's accident, I think we all changed. We all realized that life is so short. My tattoos started off being really a rebellion thing in my 40s because not only Dustin, but my ex-husband was telling me, just don't have anything showing. So the very next day, I would call one of my buddies and say, hey, want to tattoo me today? And I would get something plastered on my neck, come home, Dustin's mad, my husband's mad. So then they tell me, okay, no more. So the next week I'd go and I'd do it again and again and again. And so, yeah, now I'm actually getting something new tattooed right from the tip of my toes to the top of my neck. So that's a whole nother story, but yeah, that was my first tattoo. It's pain therapy. Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah. Oh, sorry, yes, no. No, I had met my birth father when I was 28 years old, and we started to have a really good relationship. He started to have a relationship with my kids, which I'm kind of sorry that I allowed to happen. I sort of felt like, you know, maybe he was my sense of family, and then he ended up meeting a woman who was not far from my age. I mean, he's only 16 years older than me, so and then she was jealous of the relationship that him and I had, that she figured we were too close and she didn't have any kids or grandkids. So then he just kind of jumped out of my life as well. So yeah, so just another little bit of abandonment there, but that's okay. I have all of you.
If there are no further questions, you can certainly offer any closing comments you might have, or anything else you'd like to say.
I guess the only thing that I could say is I had a few people message me that I went to school with when I was young. And they were really, you know, saying how sorry they were that they didn't know any of this was going on when we were growing up and stuff like that. And that's not what I wanted from this book. I don't want people to feel sorry for me. It's not a, you know, oh, woe is me book. It's supposed to just tell people that, you know, regardless of what you go through, if you take those negative experiences and you turn it into something positive, you know, your life can be so much better than what you ever thought it could be. Instead of just being angry and doing to other people what was done to you, just try to turn it around, and every story can have a silver lining if you put the work in. Yeah, thank you. Oh.
Why did you start doing tattoo for free when you could charge so much?
The reason I started doing tattoo removal for free, and you were one of my first clients, was because as I was working with Linda, there was one kid, and I'll never forget him, and I was on midnight shift, and I was asking him why, when he got out of jail, he had been in jail for 3 years, why he didn't want to leave the yard. And he said because he was scared. He was scared of leaving the yard. He was scared by getting jumped either by a rival gang or by his old gang that he had left. And so I asked Linda if I could take him after hours, and I could go and take him and start getting rid of some of the visible tattoos so that he would be safer. Linda said, absolutely, of course. And then parole started coming into the house, probation. They started asking me if I could help some of their clients, and I gladly said yes. And then talking with Linda, I said, you know, this is something I really, really want to do. I mean, I would love if one day I could do this for everybody. And then with Michelle DeGroot, I started working with the Winnipeg Police Gang Unit. I started working, I think we work with 48 different organizations in total right now, around 40, something like that. So 10 years ago is when I started. I did the project for 8.5 years by working other jobs to fund the project. And now I'm finally getting funding and I get my rent paid in an office, and I'm the first person in North America to actually get into the prison system to do tattoo removal. We're actually in 3 different prisons. Michelle and I go to men's Headingley, women's Headingley, and the Manitoba Youth Center. And soon it will be more, and then hopefully hit the road once every 6 weeks and go up north to do it as well. And I'll do this as long as I can, whether I'm 75 or what. If I can still do it, then I'll continue doing it, and then this one will take over.
I just want to say something, and I hope you never forget. When we used to sit in the back of our workplace, Della would sit up there. By the way, think of that. We used to sit in the back, and she used to say, "I don't know if I can do this." Do you remember that? And she used to, believe it or not, she would be shy. And I said, "You can do anything you put your mind to," but she said that for so long, and there was a fear of something stopping you back then, that she wasn't good enough, maybe wasn't smart enough, wasn't brave enough. But you know what? I'm just in awe of you right now, standing up there with your beloved family beside you and believing in you and all that you've done. But you know, as a woman from the hood, you never be afraid.
That's right.
And I want you to remember that. And that just came through me just now, that we used to sit in the back and we'd smoke when we smoked. And we'd be with all these guys, and I mean, not with them, but tough guys, you know. But she was so afraid at that time, thinking nobody would believe in her. But you could see from today.
And you did.
Well, that I believe. That was real. You're a good girl. And you're a good mother and a good friend. And you can see, I just wanted to say that it just flashed through my head about how we used to sit in the back of the jail. And look where you are now, Dallas. Never forget.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you both so very much. Thank you all for your attention, for your questions. We will be moving on to the signing portion in just a moment. We'll just take one moment of patience while the good folks in the film crew just kind of rearrange themselves. So just to give you a sense of how the signing is going to go, in just a moment there'll be a moment of chaos while everybody tries to line up in just that row right there. We have plenty of books on the signing table. Please do feel free to get a copy of the book signed before you pay for it. Just please do remember to pay for the book before you physically leave the store. We'd be very grateful. But I'm going to ask you all to join me again in another huge round of applause. Thank you so much to Cody for being here.